Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm your host, Locke Hoover. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You can also follow us at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. And today on the show, is the polar bear going to be left out in the cold? Has Taylor Swift done it again? And for once, I feel like Major League Baseball has got it right. But first, I want to get into this little college football and are Power 4 schools becoming junior colleges? Yes, I said Power 4 schools. So big programs as well. Well, Jimbo Fisher, did an interview with SiriusXM, and he believes that is so, and it's turning into that way. And to an extent, I kind of agree. And the point he's making on this is major college programs, specifically in the ACC and the Big 12, are getting picked off left and right in the portal. And where are they going? Oh, yeah, you know it. You guessed it. The SEC and the Big 10. I mean, you see it all the time. And interesting enough, you're seeing this, and a perfect example of this in this era. What would Patrick Mahomes have done? You know, he went to Texas Tech. Obviously, a first-round pick. We know he's on in the NFL. Does he stay at Texas Tech for all 4 years in the era of NIL and the portal and being able to transfer freely without sitting out? I don't think so. I think he's gone to a SEC or Big Ten school in a heartbeat, even if it is for just 1 year. He's gone. I mean, Jimbo Fisher has seen the money gap firsthand. He's experienced the money gap as well, working and coaching in the SEC and ACC at two big programs. I mean, obviously, he left a top-tier Florida State team where he won a national championship with. Yes, he had talent there in Jameis Winston, NFL quarterback, and obviously Delvin Cook, all kinds of other players as well, but led by the quarterback and the running back there doing their thing. But even then, he saw the facility gap between Florida State and Texas A&M and the money gap between what he was getting at Florida State and what Texas A&M could offer, who, as we know, has not won anything major in the SEC at all. Same thing with Clemson, another top-tier program, obviously won a few natties, way behind the financial race as well, being in the ACC. Top premier brand in college football. And look where they're at. Look where he's sitting. Look where Clemson's sitting in the ACC. Part of the reason why Clemson, AC, and Florida State want to get out of the ACC. You know, they filed these trying to get out of the ACC. See if it happens. If they do, it's an interesting fact of where are they going, because it's not like the SEC and Big Ten have outright said, yes, come with us, come here. You think it would be a natural landing spot for them, but it hasn't been openly said. And maybe it's because the ACC, they haven't gotten out of the ACC yet. Other thing Jimbo mentioned, which we've heard this recently as well, salary caps and revenue sharing should be in college football, much like the NFL approach and the NFL model. And I think it's coming down the road. Some way, somehow, some fashion, I think it's coming down the road. I mean, I feel like this an easy implementation of this could work when it comes to NIL and spending. You know, you have X amount of dollars to spend on NIL and transfer portal, etc. Or no, they should really almost just do, you have X amount of dollars like salary cap, use it as you may for high school recruits or for portal or both, combination of both. It makes sense. Now, I think interesting thing, I would be curious to see kind of how it levels out if they were to put the salary cap, a salary NIL type cap in college football, how it would be dispersed. Would it be kind of the NFL model, quarterback, left tackle, defensive end, or would it be more spread out with wide receivers, corners, your offensive line, getting love, spread out the NIL as well? Because obviously, college football is a different game than the NFL, different schemes, and all of that. Yes, there's important positions like the quarterback, obviously, that drives a lot of things. So, of course, that's going to be the same as well. But you've seen college football teams be fine or okay when they don't have a 10-sack defensive end. That's more likely in the NFL than college football. So I would be curious to see how that kind of breaks down when it comes to the salary cap and if there is an NIL cap and all that. Now, I believe Jimbo's comments are legit, especially coming from him as he's coached at big-time programs, obviously winning the title at Florida State, and then left for a lot of money to go to Texas A&M. And we've heard similar things here recently, last few months. I mean, Bob Stoops has said similar things with the salary cap as well. So it's worth noting, I think, to me, especially if a lot of former college coaches are saying changes need to happen, something needs to get straightened out, especially notable ones, and say Bob Stoops and Jimbo Fisher. Nick Saban's had some comments about NIL. He's come out and said that's why he, left Alabama when he did, just the changing in the NFL, in the college football way and how it is now. He's going to come out and say, since he actually, he coached in it and dealt with it, obviously Bob Stoops did, and he's just seen it from afar. Jimbo's coached in it and dealt with it. Saban, of course, has as well. So they're with notable coaches saying this, there could be some changes in the future. The only tough part about this is there's really no governing body when it comes to each conference. Yes, the NCAA, I put that in quotes, is the governing body, but not really. I mean, you see it all the time. You've seen in the last few years, these conferences are like, no, what, screw you, NCAA. We're going to do what we want. And the NCAA is like, okay. With conference schedules. Some play 9 conference games. Some play 8 conference games. Where's the conference championships being played? All these different little structures and layouts that each individual conference has, which I like it. That's what makes it unique about college football, but it's also not as uniform because there's no big overall governing body a la the NFL of the structure of things. So that's going to be the tough part when it comes to this change of governing bodies in that situation. Now, speaking of situations, there could be one brewing up in New York. And by that, I mean the polar bear, Peter Alonso. Off to a little bit of a disappointing season, kind of, but that's kind of where he's at in his career's last few years. He's going to be free agent next year. And Scott Boras is now his representation. Interesting enough, last year, the Mets offered him a 7-year, $158 million contract, which would have been his age 29 to 35 seasons. He turned it down. He wanted more, and I don't think he'll get it. Why, you might ask? Freeman only got 6 years, $162 million at age 32. And obviously that's ended up being less because he deferred some of that. $162 million over 6 years. Just compare Freddie to Pete Alonso. Freddie's, to me, better overall player. I watched a lot of Freddie, obviously, in Atlanta. But I've seen a decent amount of Pete Alonso, too, with the Mets all the time playing the Braves. Freddie has a better career average, on-base percentage, and better on-base plus slugging percentage and OPS plus. True power numbers, which Pete Alonso is. Okay, next guy in line with, you say Pete Alonso, Matt Olson. But the Braves signed for 8 years for $168 million. Plus, he got a club option for the year 2030. Once again, I think Olson is a better overall player. Got a better career average, a higher on-base percentage, a better on-base plus slugging percentage, and a better OPS plus. That's all straight power numbers. And that's what Peter Alonso is. He's a slug power guy. Well, his two top guys at the position, he's behind in all those categories. Also with Freddie and Matt Olson compared to Pete Alonso, both are better true hitters, have a higher average, and have both won Gold Gloves, all better than Pete Alonso. Also, Pete Alonso, he's not going to be the prize free agent in the class next year. That's going to be Juan Soto. Soto's going to get his, and then everything else is going to filter out. And Soto's also a Boras client. Soto will get, 3.5, maybe 4. In that range, I would guess. And I think Alonso is going to have to settle for a short-term deal, kind of like we saw with the Cody Bellingers, the Blake Snells, Matt Chapman. All those guys thought they were getting huge, big contracts, or they had bigger contracts that they turned down their final year free agent, or the final year before they became free agents. And lo and behold, they didn't get that. I don't see Alonso getting that, and I don't know if the Mets have taken that deal off the table or not. That hasn't been reported. But usually, to me, once a club offers that, they say no. The player says no. That's usually not in the that deal's taken off the table. I don't know. I haven't seen any other reports if the Mets have removed that deal or not, or if the Mets said, "Know what? We're going to go a different direction now. We're going to go in a different direction after that offer. We're not in contention. We're not in contention this year. We're not going to be in contention next year. We're trying to watch our salary cap stay under the cap. So there's all these factors with Alonso and with the Mets. I'm sure Pete Alonso's tired of losing, probably wants to go to a winner. Mets on a winner right now, and they've got a lot of rebuilding and restructuring to do as well. So the polar bear is going to be, I think, a little disappointed when the offseason comes around. Now, something I'm not disappointed in, and I'm actually happy. I think it's smart for Major League Baseball to make this new deal with Roku. So they struck a deal with Roku for Roku to air select Sunday games this year. They had the same similar type deal the previous 2 years with Peacock. And now they're on Roku, and I love this deal for Major League Baseball, and here's why. First one is it's on a new and different platform than before. So I like it. They're spreading their wings, trying out different platforms to show what they can do, what product they can provide for that network, that contract. The broadcast, the personnel standpoint, all that matters when it comes to this of does this network, do we need to provide our own broadcasters? Do we need our own broadcasting team? Are you going to bring in broadcasters and do, whatever like Apple TV's doing, like Peacock? So like what's the plan? What's the structure? So it's a different platform. Also, I think the great thing about this is you can access the games for free via Roku. If you have Roku already, it's free. Or it's also free if you just go to the Roku website. And to me, this is the most important thing. It's FREE. Free. To help to continue to try to grow this game and expand it to younger fans, the younger demographic you're battling for, you're going after to try to get and continue that fight with the NFL. Another great thing, there's no blackouts too. They've said there's no blackouts yet. Regardless of where you are, you can watch them. It's been an age-old problem for the Major League Baseball as well, which they need to figure that crap out. And then also too, I like this. They're the only game on and not for that certain window. Alarm start before 1, might be 11:30. 12, 12:30, 1 o'clock. So it's your Sunday games before 1 or 1 o'clock, which could mean potentially more viewers watching that game, watching that baseball, which is a great thing that needs to happen. I mean, it's not like it's going to catch up to the NFL, and it's not to the point where people are going to be paying for one-off games like the NFL. Part of that's because there's 162 of them instead of 16. Obviously, that is a difference, of course, 16 compared to 162. It's, you know what, I missed a game, so what? Who cares? I got 162 more. But it's free, and that's big. I think another thing I think from an overall optics standpoint, I mean, they signed a 3-year deal worth $30 million over the 3-year span. So they're not losing any money, which is what they were getting paid for via Peacock. So from an image standpoint, they're bringing in the same amount of money, and I think that's important for Major League Baseball. The imaging, the branding of Major League Baseball, of who they are, what they're about, because we know the imaging has been a problem. I don't understand why they don't know how to market. They haven't figured out. There's so many young, good, dynamic players in Major League Baseball. The Ronald Acuñas, the Bryce Harpers, the Julio Rodriguez. That's 3 different areas. West Coast, Seattle, Philly, Northeast, Atlanta in the South. And then you've got the biggest star, and obviously Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani, who's in a gambling ring problem, who they're trying to sweep that underneath the rug. It's funny, there's been no mentioning of that based on his gambling stuff. And I obviously know why. The imaging, the branding problem from a public eye standpoint, Major League Baseball always has to fight. So there's no backlash here of them. Oh, that's funny. They're losing this money going to Roku as opposed to Peacock. No, that's not the case. And I think that's really important for Major League Baseball because they're bringing the same amount of money and the overall imaging standpoint. Now, she's at it again, and it's not a surprise. And that's T Swift. Taylor Swift, obviously her long tour still going and doesn't end until December. And Mike North, the NFL vice president, he's come out and he's confirmed to Fox Sports that the Taylor Swift itinerary played a role in the league scheduling. And I looked at that, I was like, what exactly does he mean by that? And I think a couple of things. So she's playing the stadiums of the Dolphins, Saints, and Colts. Obviously, all those teams are on the road during that time. And I think this is very much Taylor, because she sells out. She wants all these big stadiums. Good for her. She scheduled those three, arena stadiums. Like, yeah, we'll have her, and so they did. And it's a weekend. So, yeah, they could have done a game. It'd be tough, though. So the NFL's like, okay, we'll just schedule them on the road that day. But that's whatever. Here's the only, I think, fitting one, as she'll be in Toronto for a concert. Okay, no, Toronto. See, just so happens that the Chiefs will be traveling to Buffalo that weekend. Like, what are the chances of that, right? I don't think it's by happenstance that the Chiefs just so happen to be in Buffalo during the time Taylor Swift happens to be playing in Toronto. I mean, obviously, the NFL saw the bump in ratings and the Taylor Swift effect once she's at these games with Travis Kelce and all that. So I don't know this. Like, who else in history would have affected the NFL like this when it comes to scheduling? Would someone like the Prince, the Beatles, Michael Jackson, Rolling Stones, would any of those bands have the effect of scheduling, affecting the scheduling when it comes to NFL in their heyday, of course, in their prime of all prime? I don't know. I mean, would they move the needle, the NFL needle, in their heyday like Taylor Swift is and has been doing the last year and a half? Obviously, it escalates some more now that she's dating Travis Kelce, of course. My guess would be no. And here's why. It's the same crowd, the same audience. Your Prince, your Beatles, your Michael Jackson, your Rolling Stones fans were and are NFL fans. There's a lot of crossover. I mean, even, let's just say one of the highest, biggest stars, say like Beyonce or maybe Janet Jackson, they never move the needle. And they would have the same target audience, the same, I'm sure there's a lot of crossover Taylor Swift and Beyonce audience that there was, that NFL eyeballs would love to have. Beyonce was never able to pull it. Say that Janet Jackson, she was never able to pull that either. Yes, of course, none of them were were dating a stud, future Hall of Famer, football player. Yes, that has something to do with it, but still, I don't think any of these people would move the needle as much. I mean, what's the craze? Is there any craze in Green Bay? And you ask me, what are you talking about Green Bay? I'm talking about Simone Biles. She's married to a Green Bay football player. She doesn't move the needle. Yeah, she's been at some games and she's done pictures and all that with her husband. It doesn't move the needle. I don't think it'll really move the needle with the Olympics coming up either. Yeah, if she says she's making a comeback, and yeah, they'll mention and talk about it, during the NFL season. But even then, she's a big star, different kind of star. Still doesn't move the needle, I don't think. So it's pretty incredible and interesting that the NFL vice president's like, yeah, Taylor Swift had some effect on how we kind of conducted business and did things when it comes to our NFL schedule. Pretty incredible, pretty amazing the effect that Taylor Swift continues to have on the NFL. It's amazing. And as long as he's dating Travis Kelce, I think she will have the effect on the NFL and those Taylor Swift fans that are watching an NFL game just to see her. It's amazing. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You can also check us out at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. You've been listening to Lock It Down Sports. Have a good week, everybody.